नमस्ते दोस्तों, आपका स्वागत है मेरे चैनल पर। इसे सब्सक्राइब करें और घंटी आइकन दबाएं।
This chart breaks down global oil reserves, and sitting near the top is a staggering recent discovery. Hidden beneath the thick ice of Antarctica lies an estimated 511 billion barrels of oil, a reserve so massive it sits second only to the entire Middle East. Yet, at the South Pole today, you will find 0 military bases guarding the territory and 0 commercial rigs drilling into the ice. Throughout human history, a resource strike of this magnitude almost always triggers an immediate land grab, followed by territorial wars and rapid colonization. To understand why this specific fortune remains completely untouched, we have to look at how the continent itself acts as a lethal fortress, violently rejecting anyone who tries to stay. For about 70 million years, this massive white desert sat frozen at the bottom of the world. It was a complete blank spot on our maps, remaining entirely hidden from human eyes until 1820. When explorers finally did arrive, the environment showed no mercy. Early expeditions, like Captain Robert Scott's 1911 mission, were decimated. Facing the elements in primitive gear, Scott and his entire crew succumbed to starvation and freezing temperatures on their journey back from the pole. Even the most advanced naval vessels of the era were immobilized, crushed to splinters by the immense, unpredictable pressure of the shifting sea ice. These early tragedies proved that Antarctica was a deadly fortress, a space inherently resistant to permanent human expansion. This cross-section illustrates Antarctica's natural defense: katabatic winds. Here, the solid ground is actually colder than the atmosphere. As relatively warm air rises, freezing, dense air is pulled downward by gravity. It forcefully sweeps across the ice, accelerating into continuous blizzards reaching 300 kilometers per hour. Then there is the immediate biological threat of the dry freeze. Temperatures drop to a brutal -90°C. Because freezing air cannot hold moisture, the humidity dips to near 0%, causing the air to suck the moisture out of your skin and trigger frostbite in seconds. If you survive the wind and the freeze, the terrain itself sets physical traps. Visual whiteouts erase all sense of direction, making it dangerously easy to step straight into a hidden 100-foot-deep glacial crevasse, masked entirely by a thin layer of snow. This combination of vicious physics and treacherous geography acts as an impenetrable natural armor. Large-scale military or industrial occupation remains physically and economically impossible. Humanity does have a presence here, primarily at McMurdo Station, the largest hub on the continent. But looking at these scattered buildings nestled against the barren hills, you can see how precarious this foothold really is. Keeping the summer population of 1,000 researchers alive requires a monumental logistical life support mission. A year's worth of food and supplies must be dropped off all at once, and after a nuclear power plant failed and was shut down, the entire town now relies on shipped-in diesel fuel just to stay alive. Even basic modern infrastructure is stretched to its limits. Because commercial satellites do not orbit directly over the poles, internet access is heavily restricted to brief, low-speed windows that only work for a few hours a day. Maintaining this tiny foothold is a fragile, heavily subsidized life support mission that hangs by a thread every single winter. The exact extremes that make the continent so hostile also make it uniquely valuable. That near 0% humidity means there is no water vapor to distort incoming signals from space, creating a perfect interference-free window for deep space astronomy. This clarity allowed researchers here to play a crucial role in capturing the first-ever image of a black hole. Meanwhile, below the surface, scientists drill deep into the ice, pulling up ancient cores that act as a climate hard drive for the planet. Knowledge has become the continent's primary export, shifting the motivations of global superpowers from mineral extraction to scientific data. This shift in priorities was formalized in 1959 with the Antarctic Treaty, which was later strengthened by a strict environmental protocol in 1991. These international agreements strictly ban all commercial oil drilling, mining, and military deployments. They establish the entire landmass as a shared preserve dedicated entirely to science. The sheer hostility of the ice essentially forced international cooperation, proving that an environment too deadly to fight over can legally become a sanctuary for peace. Protecting that sanctuary requires intense vigilance. Because the ecosystem is so isolated, visitors must adhere to a strict "don't pack a pest" policy, thoroughly sterilizing their gear to prevent introducing any foreign bacteria. We are already seeing the vulnerability of this environment. Recently, an avian flu began spreading through sub-Antarctic islands, reaching seal and penguin populations that have no natural immunity to outside pathogens. The greater threat might be buried within the ice itself. As global temperatures rise and the permafrost begins to melt, scientists warn that ancient viruses trapped in the deep freeze for thousands of years could be released back into the environment. Antarctica stands as a massive, frozen warning. Our survival here doesn't depend on conquering this final frontier, but on having the absolute restraint to leave it exactly as it is.